Ladies and gentlemen, Sturm has been getting a great deal of attention lately for its performance in PvP. It's currently sitting at number 3 in comp usage and number 10 in quick play usage. Brave X Hero and Apathetic, two Destiny content creators who I have a great deal of respect for, recently put out videos singing its praise. I do highly recommend checking out their videos if you haven't already. Links will be in the description. And if you have seen their videos or caught either of these guys on stream, you probably already know that they are downright deadly with this gun. So I decided to take another look at it for myself. I did put out a Sturm and Drang review quite a while ago, and I did do an exotic hand cannon ranking list pre-Beyond Light, where I ranked Sturm, well, the last on my list. But with Beyond Light came major changes to the aggressive frame hand cannon archetype, increasing their fire rate and their physical range. But what can I add to the conversation though? Well, first I will touch on the PvE aspect of Sturm. But maybe more importantly, for PvP, I can offer a different perspective. Both Brave and Apathetic are extremely talented PvP players, and me, well, not so much. I consider my skill level to be simply above average, you know, C+, B- if I had to grade myself. So the question that I really want to answer about Sturm is Sturm a gun for everybody, or is it really only effective in the hands of a top tier player? And I figure I should be able to answer this question by doing what I do best, giving Sturm a full and objective weapon review. And if at any point during the course of this video you find it useful, helpful, or enjoyable, both liking and subscribing go a long way in supporting this video and the Ironworker Gaming channel. And if you're really digging the content, turn on notifications with the bell icon to ensure that you don't miss an upload from yours truly. But let's get things rolling with a look at Sturm's stats and perks. Alright, Sturm is an exotic kinetic hand cannon shooting at 120 rounds per minute with 12 rounds in the magazine. For the stats, I'll pull in some solid numbers from Destiny Tracker, and the proper adjustments have been made to the weapon stats to account for the catalyst. The range stat is being pushed up to a 91. This stat is way ahead of other aggressive frame hand cannons at base. The same can be said for the stability of 56, and the handling, now at 73, is really solid regardless of which hand cannon archetype you're looking at. The reload is not bad for the archetype, but it's not stellar by any means, and we do have a 50 in the aim assist department. This is quite a bit lower than most other hand cannons in the game. The recoil here is listed at 80, but I have seen other websites to have it listed at 100. Your guess is as good as mine as to which one's actually correct, but I can tell you this weapon does seem to pull to the right just a little bit as it fires. Sturm's intrinsic trait is Accomplice. Kills with this weapon reload the equipped energy weapon from reserves. And our exotic perk is Storm and Stress, which pairs exclusively with the sidearm Drang. Kills with Drang reload this weapon and overflow bonus damage rounds into the magazine. And fun fact, you can actually fill Sturm's magazine up to 99 rounds, with 87 of them being overcharged rounds. And we'll be looking at how this works in just a moment. But if you don't have Sturm yet and you would like one of your very own, you can purchase it from the weapon kiosk at the tower. The catalyst can be earned randomly by defeating enemies on Nessus, and once obtained you will need 500 kills with Sturm and 500 kills with Drang to unlock it. I suppose it's also worth mentioning that a power level relevant Drang can be pulled straight from collections if you have acquired it in the past, or purchase it from Banshee at the tower if you have not. And with that, let's hop into PvE and check out Sturm's damage and performance. Alright, let's take a look at a couple functionality aspects real quick. First off, I run down my magazine with Drang, swap to Sturm, get a kill, you can hear that auto reload occur, swapping back, we're fully reloaded. And this does work with any energy weapon, not just Drang. Next, we get a couple kills with Drang, swap to Sturm, you can see the weapon is reloaded and overfilled with overcharged bullets. This function will only happen with Drang. But for some damage output, I'm going to establish a baseline with the Steady Hand legendary 120 RPM hand cannon. It's hitting for 3,592 points of damage on a crit, and 2,002 points of damage to the body. Switching over to Sturm, we are hitting for the exact same damage values, so there's nothing out of the ordinary here. Looking at the damage with an applied damage buff, that would be with Charge with Light and High Energy Fire, my Empowering Rift, or the Whisper of Hedra and Stasis Fragment. These are all giving a 20% damage increase, but they do not stack on top of each other. Crits will hit for 4,490 points of damage, and 2,503 points of damage to the body. If we have some overcharged rounds loaded in Sturm, crits are going to hit for 12,996 points of damage, and a body shot is registering for 7,244 points of damage. This is a 262% damage increase, dealing over 4 times that of the weapon's base damage. And one of those aforementioned damage buffs will stack with these overcharged rounds, allowing Sturm to hit for 15,595 points of damage on a crit and 8,692 points of damage to the body. So yeah, Sturm can output a lot of damage, but it is very reliant on Drang to do so. Performance-wise, Sturm is a lot of fun to use in PvE, when paired with Drang. Like I said back in the stats section, you can overflow Sturm's magazine to 99 bullets by getting kills with Drang. And with those overcharged rounds, you're pretty much gonna go around and one-shot everything. And no, I don't literally mean everything, but even more tanky adds are gonna go down after they eat 2 or 3 bullets. This, as a whole, is a pretty fun gameplay loop, but this weapon pairing was born in the double primary days of Destiny 2, and while adjustments have been made to try to keep them more relevant, I personally don't think these changes are enough. I never really find myself wanting to use Sturm and Drang over a primary special weapon combination, nor do I often find myself in a situation thinking, man, Sturm and Drang would be perfect for this. And without Drang in PvE, Sturm is not all that dissimilar from other 120 RPM hand cannons. I mean, sure, the auto-reloading of the energy weapon is a nice quality of life aspect, and the base stats are top tier, but it's those overcharge rounds that really make the gun special. And unless you're willing to run the combo, there's probably a lot of better ways you could spend your exotic slot. But if you are running the pairing, I mean, the damage output is there, maybe you could make some use of it. But how is Sturm working out in PvP? Kicking things off with the damage numbers, Sturm is hitting for 90 points of damage on a crit and 50 points of damage to the body. This gives us an optimal time to kill of 1 second by landing 2 crits and 1 body shot, and a body shot time to kill that comes in at 1.5 seconds with 4 shots landed. Now typically I don't factor in external damage buffs into my weapon reviews, because I usually take the stance of, that's up to you. It's not tied to the gun itself, and I like to review weapons as a standalone entity. But in this case, I think these external damage buffs are way too important to this hand cannon archetype to ignore. With a 20% damage buff, Sturm is going to hit for 108 points of damage on a crit and 60 points of damage to the body. And with the Whisper of Hedron's fragment, this actually seems to be granting us a 25% damage buff in PvP, but the results hold steady. Both of these buffs provide the ability to deal a lethal 2-tap by landing 2 crits, taking only 0.5 seconds. Also, 1 crit and 2 body shots will do the trick in 1 second, but neither of these buffs affect the true body shot time to kill. If you happen to be pairing Sturm with Drang, an overcharged round is going to hit for 162 points of damage on a crit, and if you land it to the body, it will deal 91 points of damage. But if you stack these overcharged rounds with an external damage buff, in the Crucible, 1 crit will be lethal, dealing 194 points of damage. And if you happen to have saved a Drang Baroque from Season of Opulence with Disruption Break, you can strip your opponent's shield with Drang, activating Disruption Break. Swap to Sturm, if you have an overcharged round and a 20% damage buff, you're going to deal 291 points of damage on a crit. And this really has no practical application whatsoever, but it is a fun party trick to impress your friends with, as long as your friends are easily impressed. For the physical range, pre-Beyond Light, Sturm's damage fall-off was right around 32 meters if I'm remembering correctly. Currently, we can hit for full damage from up to 44 meters away. But even out at 48 meters, Sturm can still secure a 3-tap kill if you land 3 crits. Alright, performance-wise, let me preface this by saying 2 things. 1, I'm gonna let Sturm stand on its own and see what it can do. Drang's gonna stay home on this one. 2nd, I have a nicely rolled steady hand that I really like, and this does weigh on my thought process. That being said though, Sturm does outclass it in several ways. First, once you have that catalyst unlocked, you have top tier stats almost straight across the board, right out of the box. No need to grind Iron Banner for your perfect roll. In the range stat, while it doesn't have a huge effect on the physical range of the weapon, it does factor into the overall bullet accuracy. And with the stats sitting at a 91, shots fired from Sturm are extremely consistent and land right on the crosshairs. Then the stability stat helps reduce the climb of the weapon as it fires, and the recoil direction, while it isn't what I would call perfect, is totally serviceable even when using Sturm at its max fire rate. Then the handling, sitting at a 73, is way better than all other 120 RPM hand cannons. Sturm with the catalyst is extremely responsive, allowing for faster aim down sight speeds and weapon swap speeds. And in PvE, especially on the higher end of things, this can absolutely be the difference between winning and losing a gunfight. And as my man the Mank says, handling is the meta. Plus, if you're out of position or in a bad spot, that auto-reloading of your energy weapon on a kill with Sturm can really help you out. On top of that, Sturm has a 12-round magazine, meaning you can potentially deal with 4 enemy guardians without needing to reload. And in 3v3 game modes, you can potentially wipe the enemy team even if you miss a few shots, making Sturm extremely forgiving. Speaking of forgiving, we can hit our optimal time to kill with a 67% crit ratio, needing only 2 out of the 3 bullets to land to the head. And that body shot time to kill of 1.5 seconds with 4 shots landed is the best in the weapon class, excluding a few exotics. And when we do have a damage buff active, our optimal time to kill is cut in half, only taking 0.5 seconds. And snagging these buffs is pretty much commonplace in PvP these days. I figure pretty much everyone is taking advantage of Charge with Light and High Energy Fire, and if you're not, you probably should be. But either way, this allows the aggressive frame archetype to flat out outgun many other weapons, and can do so now from extended ranges in the Beyond Light sandbox. This makes Sturm and other 120 RPM hand cannons great options for those who prioritize positioning over aggression. Next, the in-air accuracy. Some players may shy away from Sturm because it's an exotic, and you cannot stock it in Icarus Grip on it. Does Sturm need Icarus Grip? Well, no, not really, in my opinion. It actually feels very accurate when in the air most of the time. Every now and then though, on the edges of Sturm's effective range, I do notice a little dip in accuracy. I feel like sometimes shots miss that would have landed if I had my steady hand. But I'm talking about out at 35 meters. For all intensive purposes, Sturm handles itself quite well without Icarus Grip. And there's only 2 real flaws I want to touch on. First, as I mentioned earlier, if you're a player that goes full ape full time, this weapon archetype might not be your cup of tea. Given the really good stats on Sturm, maybe you could make it work, but I really don't think it's the best option just due to the slower fire rate. Secondly, we're dealing with a lower than average base aim assist of 50. Now this isn't pathetically bad by any means, and can be brought up on the cheap by equipping some hand cannon targeting mods on your helmet. But I mean, if you have a steady hand that has an aim assist value of 95, the difference is noticeable. You're not going to be getting as much reticle stickiness or bullet magnetism with Sturm. You won't have as many of those, whoa, I can't believe that shot landed moments. But on the other hand, giving Sturm's high accuracy, you're less likely to get those, how did that shot not land moments. And this is by no means saying that steady hand feels like an inherently inaccurate weapon either. And this is always a tough call. You're basically trying to pit the aim assistance cone versus the accuracy cone. It's like asking which shoe's better, the left shoe or the right shoe. They're both, equally important. My best advice would be just try both and see which one works out better for you. For the verdict, and I gotta say, right now, I view Sturm more as a crucible weapon than a PvE weapon. It certainly can work in PvE, and it is a lot of fun, but the whole double primary thing kinda just presents a mental block for me. I almost always equip a primary with a special weapon, so this is just really not the way I prefer to play. In PvP, Sturm is great though, but is it great for everyone? I do think it's the upper echelon of players who's going to see the greatest benefit from running Sturm over one of the other 2 power relevant 120 RPM hand cannons, that being Steady Hand or the True Prophecy. If you are on point with your reticle placement, Sturm is going to reward you. For the rest of the player base, I do think Sturm is probably the best of the bunch, but maybe to a lesser degree. Matches where I use Sturm and matches where I use my Steady Hand generally yield the same results. And the results are generally good. Both of these hand cannons are fantastic, and this is a very strong archetype currently. On a bullet-to-bullet basis, both perform extremely well. Now there have been times where I missed a shot and I thought maybe it could have been due to the lower aim assist on Sturm, but what makes me give it the edge over other 120 RPM hand cannons is the magazine size. In 6v6 game modes where I usually find myself playing, I have a 12-round magazine to deal with multiple targets, and the increased uptime on this gun is really what makes the difference for me. But since you made it to this point in the video, if you did enjoy it, please leave it a like and consider subscribing to the channel if you've not done so already. And if you're really digging the content, hit the bell to turn on notifications. If you'd like to catch me live, I do occasionally stream on Twitch. You can head over there and look for Ironworker814, but I might give YouTube another shot this weekend. To contact me, you can look for Ironworker814 on Twitter, join our channel Discord, a link will be in the description down below, or just leave a comment and I'll be sure to get back to you. And with all that being said, I'd like to thank you for taking the time out of your day to check out this weapon review. You guys are awesome, and I will catch you on the next one.